go.
Okay.
Are we live?
Yep.
We're live. How about that? Sorry, folks. This took a little while. You know, you got people who know how to raise a horse, how to train a horse, how to take people on horse rides, how to run a campground. Not so much on how to do films.
We're not techies, okay? So you're getting what you're getting.
Yep, you'll have to bear with us. I'm sure we'll catch on eventually. And anyhow, I'd like to welcome you to the this is the Heartline Ranch channel, and this is going to be a channel telling all about horses and our ranch and what we do here, and hopefully we'll get smoother and better at it as we go.
Hopefully it'll make some sense to you.
Anyhow, people ask us all the time, almost daily, how did this come to be? And you know, it's kind of hard to explain to them sometimes because you know it's like, well,
It kind of evolved.
yeah, it evolved from a series of accidents. But I don't believe in accidents. I'm one of these people that believes in if you have a faith or a dream or an idea, and you just follow your journey where you're supposed to go, you'll end up there. Might not be how you started out to do it. This place, nothing here was premeditated. It's all been one big accident or one big blessing. It's just a matter of your opinion.
Kind of at each moment, we tried to do the best we could with each moment. And sometimes doors closed. And we believe Creator opened up other doors. We believe being here is not an accident, really. But a lot of accidents happened along the way.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. We came here to Oregon, and our journey here to Oregon for this day and age was a real trial. You know, back in the days when they had covered wagons, I'm sure it was much tougher. And that what we were doing was a piece of cake. Only by today's standards, I don't think many people would call it a piece of cake. Do you?
No. No, we kind of did things the hard way. What we wanted was a piece of land for our horses where we could ride in peace and quiet. And every place we looked at in Colorado didn't work out, either because restrictions on allowing us to take people on horse rides or restrictions on water. That was a huge one. Restrictions on water and also restrictions on the cost of land in Colorado. And I'd been in Colorado for a long time, so lots of my friends and still some of my family still live there. So it was a hard decision.
But I started researching, and I found this little place over called Klamath Falls, Oregon. Never heard of it before in my life. And it was not far from Crater Lake. Well, now, once upon a time, many, many years ago, I remember driving and seeing Crater Lake. Only there for a few hours. Didn't make a huge impression. It was a very pretty lake, but nothing earth-shattering happened or anything. And so I just thought it was a nice place, but never gave it any thought that so many people would come and visit it each year. So we're looking around, and we stumble upon this piece of property, run down, like you can't imagine, barbed wire fencing laying on the ground, rusted everywhere.
Somebody didn't want to go down the driveway, thought it was a waste of time.
Yeah, that was me.
But I saw a guy trying to clean up the place. And we needed a place where our horses could be, and the land was beautiful.
Yeah, but this was not a beautiful... You did
was
not buy
a
this
wreck.
for the photogenic beauty
No.
of this ranch. But it was on property that's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And you have to understand, I really have a pretty high standard for gorgeous. You know, I lived in Colorado quite a few years. I spent just a little time in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I'm used to living in really pretty places. In fact, some people have teased me and said, you know, one thing we can count on, if you're living somewhere, it's really pretty. And you know, that's really true. For me, if you're going to live somewhere, it's going to be tough no matter where you go. You're going to have obstacles to overcome. You're going to have to do things. So I want to do it somewhere when I look outside, it's beautiful, and I'm happy to be there, you know? Now, having said that, when it's 10 below zero and there's 35 inches of snow on the ground, I'm not always looking outside. I do look outside and think it's beautiful, but I'm not always so wonderfully happy that we're here.
We had, in Colorado, our last winter there, we had 2 weeks of 34 below. And we lived at 9,400 feet. And we suffered, the horses suffered, We realized we couldn't ride very long during the season of the year. And as we were getting older, we wanted a place where we could ride more, so we looked for more temperate climate. And this part of Oregon stood out to us. And so we came over to look, and we started out over in Bonanza, rented a place that wasn't going to work out for us. It just wasn't going to work out. And so we drove over here to Chiloquin because people said, oh, don't go there. It's an Indian community. Well, hello. I'm Indian. Bob's got Indian in him. We thought, well, we should go there. So we went here, and what we found was that it looked just like where we came from in Bailey, Colorado. It's beautiful. Mountains, lots of trees, lots of really good land for the horses, and a really reasonable price on land. When we went down the road that day, we saw a guy trying to clean it up, and he offered it rent with option to buy, which worked out for us. We knew there'd be a huge amount of sweat equity. But we talked him into it. We came into it, saw that the house was something we could do, we could work with. A lot of work. But the land is what we needed for the horses. And the view with the Pelican Butte Mountains across the way, and Agency Lake is here, and Crater Lake is down the road. At the time, we didn't think about the impact of the horse rides being so close to Crater Lake. We really didn't think about that.
Yeah, that was a funny thing because I never gave that a thought.
Yeah,
Not once.
I didn't either.
So we decided, well, we're going to put in a place and we're going to take horseback rides. Well, about the time we decide that, we go down to the county and we talk to them about various things that we need to do. And we wanted to make sure we crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. And in Colorado, there's just a huge book of regulations you have to do to open one of these places. And to be honest, that was one of the things I was sort of hoping to avoid by coming here. And they assured us there were almost no regulations to speak of.
Yeah.
And then they asked us, they said, you got 5 acres down there. It's kind of separate. And it's, have you ever thought about putting a campground in? Well, at the time I laughed. And I said, no, I don't think so. But
We didn't want that many people crawling all over our land.
yeah,
That was our point of view.
Yeah. So then we get back, we do buy the place, and at first we're renting, and we're in here, and he didn't really want us to be able to do that. Well, and really it was a rental property, so we couldn't really do it the first year, so we just kind of hung out and Corey.
Oh, it wasn't lackadaisical. We had to replace the septic system.
We had everything in the
We
world
had to clean up
yeah.
everything in the world. We took out 4 dumpster loads of car parts and tires and barbed wire.
Oh my gosh, this place was a rat hole, and had been for quite a while. In fact, the realtors in the past, the reason it hadn't sold, it wasn't that it was overpriced. It was a good price at a fantastic location. Nobody'd get out of the car because it looked horrible. You had to really had to have some foresight to look at this place and say, hey, you're going to be able to turn it into a really nice ranch one day.
We really had neighbors. We actually had neighbors and people that lived around here that came up the driveway to thank us for beginning to clean up this place.
Anyway,
I've never had that.
No, me either. But we're getting off the topic there.
Okay, yeah.
When we came over here, on our drive over to Oregon, we kind of swapped around here, but bear with us. This is going to be worth it. When we're coming over here, on our way over here, we had to go through Park City, Utah, and unfortunately for us, they were having a severe snowstorm that night. I mean, it was a blizzard.
The picture of it is we looked like Pa and Ma Kettle.
Yeah.
Because we had a horse trailer with the truck, we had a moving van, and we had everything that we decided was worth bringing to Oregon. 3
horses, 2 dogs, and a cat.
Yeah. Well, the horses and the horses were in the one Bob was driving, and I was driving the U-Haul truck, and everything else we'd sold in Colorado. So we came with just a bare minimum, really bare minimum. And the snowstorm chased us all the way out here. 8 inches of snow and mush that followed us all the way here. I watched a guy in front of us fishtail and go off the road. I just can't even describe how much fear we had about it, but we kept going.
And once we got past Salt Lake City, there really wasn't any more snow. And so then we're driving through, and you go to the town of Winnemucca, and you turn right, heading up north to get to Oregon. And you go through this really long area. And those of you that have been to that part of Nevada, you can relate. You can see for miles.
Beautiful. If you're not being followed by a snowstorm.
But there's nothing there. I mean, how far do you think it was between trees?
Oh my gosh.
50 miles?
Yeah.
That may be an exaggeration, but it's pretty, I'm getting at it, it's pretty remote. And we got gas there before we left through there because we thought, boy, it looks like there might not be a lot of stuff up there. So we filled up with gas in Winnemucca, and we're heading up the road. Well, it's a long, long road. And right before you get to Oregon, you go on a really curvy area, taking you up to, I guess that's the beginning of the Steen Mountains there. And we had no idea what it was. And we get up there, and you got to understand, it's a bright, bright full moon. Stars all over the skies.
A huge snowstorm had just cleared away ahead of us, and so the roads weren't that great. But the sky was clear and beautiful, and I remembered hearing that this is an area where wild mustangs were.
So we drive up. We're driving along, and it's about, I don't know, it's close to midnight. And we look up, and we see some horses off to the right. So we immediately parked, pulled off the side of the road and parked, found the biggest. It's not a place where, it's not a really good place to do that, but there were 0 cars in the way. So we got as far off the road as we could with the 2 vehicles, our little caravan, and we hopped out to watch these Mustangs. They turned out, we could see that they were Mustangs.
Oh,
they had tags on them. And
big black stallion and his mares and babies.
Oh, and this big black stallion, he walks up with the moon behind him, and he rears up on his back hind legs.
A Kodak moment.
Looked like, Trigger. Any of you people that watch Trigger with Roy Rogers? Well, he was up on his back legs like that talking to us. And I want to tell you, that was an amazing moment.
It was beautiful. Any doubts, any fears that I had about had we made the right decision, right then got cleared away. It was like the Mustangs were telling us we were welcome here. We should be here.
Yeah, so we were really
a clarifying moment.
We were excited. However, there was another minor little obstacle. We were almost out of gas.
With about an hour and a half left to go.
And no gas stations anywhere. Now, I wouldn't take that trip loaded up like that now without taking some gas cans.
No.
But
we didn't have any.
I didn't know that. We didn't have any. And so we got to sweat bullets.
And pray a lot.
Until we got through the pass and got into, what's the name of that town? Lakeview. And fortunately, Lakeview had a gas station that was open. And that was a great thing. Now, you had to have a credit card because the office was closed. But if you had a credit card, you could get some gas. Well, we had credit cards, and we were able to get gas for each of the vehicle and make it into Oregon. And I got to tell you, that was a rough way
that was scary.
Of getting here. That was not easy at all.
If ever we have hard times, we say, remember that night? We made it through that.
Yeah, we
can make it through anything.
So
it was scary.
We ended up trying a place that we ended up not wanting to buy. Long story, doesn't matter. But then we knew that we're going to have to find some place that we did want to buy and settle down for life in. And so we started looking, and we found this place down here in Chiloquin, Oregon. And as Corey said a while ago, a lot of people said, you guys don't really want to be down there in an Indian community, do you? We're like,
I'm like, yeah.
Seems pretty to me. Well,
yeah.
Don't worry about it. We'll manage to get along. So we came down here and we looked at this place, and like I say, it was just a rat hole. Nobody would even look at it. So we worked a deal with him where we could lease purchase, and we wanted to try it to see if it was going to work out for us as well as we thought it would. And for a guy that had a piece of property that he could not sell, he could not rent, you would have thought he'd have a little appreciation, but he didn't. But we always kept our eyes focused on the prize. The prize was eventually we talked him into buying it, selling it to us, and we could buy it. And then we'd be one step closer to taking rides. One little catch there, though. The property doesn't really go into the national forest without going through somebody else's land. Now, we had permission from that guy to do it while he was still alive, but we didn't really want to do that. And it was just kind of a...
Well, we could ride ourselves.
Well, right. And we did do that all
Yeah.
the time. We rode probably more than Corey's ever ridden in her whole life. And
Ever before then, yes.
and it was just amazing. And but then we decided we needed to buy it. We wanted to buy his land too, 400, a little under 400 acres. And so we talked to him and we worked out a deal to buy it. Took a while though because he was dying of cancer, and he was too sick to negotiate anymore, but still alive, so nobody wanted to do anything until he died. So after he died, then we bought the place, and we were ecstatic, and all kinds of people were like, well, why? What are you going to do with that place?
His kids were relieved because they live in California and didn't want to move back here.
No, and they were
And it
having
was
to
actually
pay.
about 430 acres
And taxes here in Oregon are really expensive
on land, yeah.
on land. So, well, on personal property.
Yeah.
And so we buy the place and we decide that we're going to take horse rides. And we're getting pretty excited about it.
Found out the road we're on is called Crater Lake Highway. It leads directly to Crater Lake.
It does. And one of the things I was really excited about is I've been taking rides for other people and running other people's programs. I'm going to have my own first time, and I was pretty excited about that. Like any other horse person, I felt like, well, I could do a better job than they did because, you know, all of us horse people think we're better than other people. But we decided to put this in, so we went down to the county and we asked them. We said, now we're going to put in this. We want to put in this ranch, and we're going to take people on horseback rides. And they said, so what do we have to do for licensing? In Colorado, that's a big procedure. And here it was like, well, it's your land. If you want to take them on horseback rides, do so. And
Just like that.
I was kind of stunned. I didn't, because I was expecting them. They had to come out, and in Colorado, they come out, they inspect your material, they investigate your background, they check everywhere you've ever worked before. It's very intensive. You don't just raise your hand and say, I want to do this. It's not how it works here. Here, you just can do it. But then they asked us, they said, you got 5 acres down there that's set aside, but nothing's going on with it.
Already kind of pre-developed, had a well.
Yeah, I said, you guys could put a campground in there. And I'm telling Corey, yeah, right, campground, having people on our property every single day. No. So we're thinking about it, and she's gnawing at me. That could be a pretty good thing to do.
Well, I'm thinking as we get older, because nobody gets away from that, as we get older, it could
Yeah, if
be
you die young.
Well, we're thinking that if they're already giving us approval, maybe we should go ahead and get the final approval. And then if we don't want to, we don't have to. But at least get that approval. And then if we decide we don't want to always take people on rides, we'd have the land for campgrounds. Kind of a good retirement plan. So we went in and asked her how long would it take. And she said to Bob, well, about 2 weeks. We're like, what? So I'm an artist. I drew up a plan, handed it in to them. We typed it up on the computer. And within 2 weeks, for sure, we had permission to do it. So we began to develop
Not only
it.
permission, a license.
A license, yeah.
So then we went down and we cleared out areas to put people that wanted to camp out with tents. Because we're horse people, we built each one of those with 2 horse stalls. So if anybody's passing through on with their horses, they could go for a ride. Well, we had all kinds of friends and people think that'd be a good idea. But the truth of the matter is horse people are really cheap. There's all kinds of places you can camp in the woods. You may not be quite as convenient or easy, but you don't have to pay anybody any money to do it. So we had a few each year, but
Yeah.
that really didn't work great.
Well, I challenge them to realize what it costs to develop something. You know, you're not going to want to develop it and let everybody in the world come in for free because it just doesn't work out wise with your tax accountant. They want to know what it was you did with your money to do that, and you can't do it for free. So we've had a few people come in because we have some beautiful trails. But right as we're developing things, the guy that came in to work for us had an idea about Airbnb because he had an old cabin on his land, and I mean it was kind of dilapidated, but he actually was able to rent it out to people in Airbnb. So we kind of started thinking about that.
Yeah, we did, and then so we listed listed it with Airbnb, and they did pretty good for us. They sent quite a few campers, and we made a little bit of money, but not very much. So then the following winter, we said, now what are we going to do to change that? Well, obviously we're getting people. We could make some money. We got to think of a better way of doing this.
But you came up with the idea of putting a teepee on.
I know.
We wanted to have a teepee. I had been teaching Native Studies in Metro State University in Denver and retired from that, and was still kind of thinking I'd like to be able to educate people on what Native ways are because we've not died out, but I wanted to do it in a positive way where people could see how Native people on the plains lived. And so, but we were talking, we thought, well, you suppose somebody would pay to stay in a teepee?
How much would they pay? So I started researching, where do you buy teepees? You don't just go to the local store and buy those, you know. And we found out that, lo and behold, the number one teepee place in the United States is Nomadic Teepees, and they're up the road about 100 miles in Bend, Oregon.
They built the teepees for Dances with Wolves, the movie.
Yeah, and that other one,
I don't...
the one with the Lakota Sioux, and there's another major movie. Anyhow, they built lots, thousands and thousands of teepees, and they do a wonderful job. So we went up there, and we arranged to order one. You can't just buy them; they're not just laying around. And they make them. You put down a deposit, and they'll make you a teepee, and it takes about 2 or 3 months before you can get one. So we order one. We come back down, and I told Corey, I said, you know, you ought to put that teepee on Airbnb, that you're going to have rentals for it, and so let's just put on there July 1st because we know we'll have it by then.
And $50.
Yeah,
but Airbnb said $150, and I'm like, okay, I'll try that. Why not?
Yeah, we put it
So
up.
we
Started
did.
renting like crazy.
It was getting booked before we even had the darn thing up. So
We decided we need another one.
well, we didn't do it that year. We did it the next year. We put 2 more up the next year.
Yeah. So next thing you know, we got 3 teepees, and then we decided that, well, this did work so well with Airbnb. I see this commercial about Booking.com. I told Corey, I said, look, that's Booking.com. They say that they're number 1 in the world. That means they at least think they're better than Airbnb. Let's sign up with them also and see how it works.
Oh my goodness. It was magic. I put it up, and not 10 minutes later, we started getting ding, 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 ding. That's the sound our phone makes when we get reservations.
It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And you know, that year it saved our bacon, because that year was the year of the big fires.
Yep.
Huge smoke. So I had to close down the horse rides, but people still rented the teepees.
Well, it was interesting. And so now we have 6 teepees, and we take people on trail rides, and they tell us there's only one other place west of the Mississippi River that does that. So we've been lucky and gotten a lot of publicity, and we use a lot of rescue horses.
Yeah.
And we try to show people how Native Americans lived in the years gone by, and we try to give them some creature comfort so it's not too harsh on them. We do have a shower, propane shower house, and we do have memory foam mattresses, pads that they sleep on, and we furnish sleeping bags. If you come here with your clothes and nothing else, you can spend the night very comfortably. We even have cooking utensils we'll loan you, and little
If you
propane
clean it up,
stove.
you get your rental back.
She's a Nazi on that.
I don't feel like cleaning up everybody's vacation. But I understand that when you come on an airplane, you don't have room for a sleeping bag. So we have 4 mattresses, 4 sleeping bags, 4 pillows in each teepee, and a fire ring, and a battery-held lantern, and there are porta potties, and there's a propane shower. That's all his idea because he researched the propane showers. And we have a solar panel for our well, because to keep our National Forest stipulation, we have to have no electricity. So we have 0 carbon footprint.
Yeah, so that part's been pretty good. And now we rent it all the time, and now we introduce people to our rescue horses constantly. And we have different horses out there that have been rescued for different circumstances. We have a Mustang out there that was rescued. We have quite a story with them, and that's what we're going to start. The next show, we're going to introduce you to one of our rescued horses, and tell all about her background and how this happened, and just let you know how we do things here, and how the horse always comes first here. But I can tell you now, this is a fun place. We love it a lot. We're going to be hanging around here for many years to come.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for watching this. We appreciate it. And why don't you hit the subscribe button so you can keep track of us. And it's free. It doesn't cost you a dime.
We have all kinds of cool stuff going on.
And we got a lot of stories to tell. And we're going to keep trying to entertain everybody. And in the beginning, we're going to be broadcasting Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're going to try to have them done by noon. It's a little past noon today, but bear with us. This was our first time getting all set up. I think we'll do better next time. This is Cowboy Bob.
And Corey Guy Crutcher.
And we wish you all a great day. Happy trails to all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.